So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. We're truly grateful to have you here today.
Yeah, I fall to the free back there.
Gonna mute whoever's coming on there. So, if you're just tuning in, we'd love to hear where you're from. So, in the chat box, drop us a line, let us know where you're coming in from. We'll get started here in a couple minutes as more people fill into the room. But once again, I'm very grateful to have all of you here. I definitely recommend taking some notes today. If you have a notepad handy, we're dropping some lovely wisdom on you guys. But once again, please share in the chat box where you're coming in from. We'll get rocking here in a couple minutes. All right, we got a solid group today, looking good. I'm out here in Marin County, California, as well as Darren. Maybe in the chat box, anybody from Marin County, check in and say what's up. Anybody in Marin? What's up, Sarah? Great to have you. Love, we got people all over the country, all over the world. We're going to have some fun today. Might do some dancing. I don't know if we're going to dance, but it'd be fun if we did some dancing. So, there we go. I see a couple of you shaking it up. It's good stuff. We'll give ourselves another minute or so here if any other stragglers want to come in. Fashion will be late. If you're just getting in, everybody, the chat box, where are you tuning in from? Welcome. So I'll gently get started here. Anybody else just kind of filling in? Once again, we're really grateful to have you guys here and this opportunity to share this amazing wisdom with you, this quantum healing wisdom, some great practices we're going to share with you guys. I'm going to be introducing Darren here in like a minute or so. And then later on, I'll be discussing this term called Wetiko. And I'm just curious, has anybody ever heard of the word Wetiko? In the chat box, give me a 1 if you've heard of Wetiko. I'm going to go into it deeply today, but I'm just kind of curious. Has anybody ever heard of Wetiko? Oh, we got some ones right away. And I'll also be blending Wetiko with some shadow work stuff. If you were here for the last presentation that Darren and I did, I spoke about shadow work. We might go a little bit deeper today. And I'm going to discuss emotional mastery. Thank you, everybody tuning in here. And like I said, we'll get started here very shortly. But yeah, I'll be talking about Wetiko, emotional mastery, a little bit of shadow work, and how we can heal the world, how we can do that inner work and make that impact. And love you guys. I'm just going to drop in the chat box. In December, Darren and I are going to be co-hosting a retreat, and a few of you are already signed up. But I'm dropping in the chat box. If you want to take a look at that and get more information, go ahead and take a peek at that. But I think it's about time to get started. So what I always like to do is I'd like for everybody, just take a few moments, just to take a few deep breaths, just inhale into your belly. Exhale down into the earth. Just ground yourself for a few moments here. Take a nice big inhale into your belly. Exhale up into the heavens above. Inhale from the heavens into your belly. And exhale down into the earth. Just do one more time. Inhale into the belly. Exhale up into the heavens. Inhale back into the belly from the heavens. Then exhale back down into the earth and just ground yourself into this present moment. So that's a little taste of central channel breathing, one of the most important things that Darren's ever taught me. as a mentor and guide. And so I'm going to get us rocking and rolling here. Now, to get us started, I want to share with you guys my story about how I met Darren and how he made a big impact in my life. So when I first met Darren, I was in a dark place, deep in my shadow. I was living with constant lumbar back pain that just wouldn't go away. I tried everything: doctors, therapists, chiropractors, osteopaths, even pharmaceuticals, but nothing worked. The pain was relentless and it consumed me. Eventually, that physical pain turned into emotional pain. My mind spiraled. I began to believe maybe I can't heal. I truly thought I might be stuck that way forever. This is about like 5 to 10 years ago. It was lasting for a while. Then a fellow coach named Shannon introduced me to Darren, and that single introduction changed the entire trajectory of my life. Within just 3 sessions, my back was 80 to 90% better. I felt alive again, safe in my body. I remember crying tears of gratitude after years, like years. I was running gyms, I had this major back pain. It was tough. After years of feeling trapped in my own darkness. Today, I'm completely pain-free, and I know that that wouldn't be possible without Darren's guidance and support. After those sessions, I discovered that Darren actually had a year-long quantum healer certification program, and something inside me knew this was my path. I signed up. I got sober, 3 years sober. Can I get a round of applause? 3 years sober coming up here. And so I signed up, got sober. And as I mentioned, I'm now coming up on 3 years. I've been completely devoted myself to his teachings. And then less than a year later, I was blending shadow work and quantum healing, helping people all over the world experience their own breakthroughs. Since then, I've had the honor of co-hosting retreats with Darren, witnessing firsthand the incredible transformations that happen through his work. Darren has authored 4 books on healing, developed his own electromagnetic healing technology now used globally, and is a doctor of Oriental medicine with a foundation in acupuncture. Today, Darren and I are here to share with you some master tools for your healing process to help you accelerate your own transformation, step into mastery, not just for yourself, but for the collective healing of humanity. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming my mentor, colleague, and dear friend, Darren Starwin. Round of applause, everybody.
Wow, thank you very much, Odysseus. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just had a failure of my main camera, so I was just dealing with that. That's why I came out a little late, and hopefully I'll be able to get that back online once the battery charges up. So dealing with unexpected things, which I think is part of life, but here's the backup, working with it this way. So yeah, thank you, Odysseus, for being on and doing this with me. I love doing this with you. And to everybody else who showed up, I see a lot of familiar faces. Wow, some great people that I've known, and thanks for being here with us tonight. So, beyond the words, beyond the ideas that we're presenting, this is our transmission tonight together. This is one of the most powerful things that we can experience is when we bring people together who are open to consciousness or open to what is true beyond what the appearances are of our indoctrinated world, and can just kind of like a flower open up in this environment and remember things that perhaps we've forgotten. There's this, in my last book, I quoted this Kurt Vonnegut Jr. science fiction novel called The Sirens of Titan. I don't know if anybody ever read that. It's back from a long time ago. But there was this one part in there about an army on Mars that was training to invade the Earth. And the way they kept the soldiers in line was that they would put relays in their head that kept blaring loud dance marching music, so they could never hear their own thoughts. So it was like rented a tunt, rented a tunt, rented a rented, rented. That's all they could hear. They couldn't hear their own thoughts. And so finally, a few of these guys realized something didn't seem right. And they snuck off the base and went out in the Martian wilderness, and they got some bootleg whiskey and drank enough of it till the marching sound kind of got dulled out. And then they could actually hear their own thoughts. And they went, oh my God, I'm not that. I'm something other than just that machine with marching in my mouth, in my head. And they started writing down things that they realized were true that they had forgotten. And I love that story because I feel it's very much like what we're going through, is that we all have this huge amnesia. The human race has been in a fallen state. Like I grew up being told that we are such an advanced country, we're so advanced, and all these primitive people living out in the wilderness, they're very primitive. I've realized it's kind of the other way around. Like the people living closer to the earth, the people who still sense that eini or that balance of reciprocity are the more advanced ones. And so Odysseus is going to talk about more of that later. So thank you for starting with a bit of a meditation, Odysseus. That's always great. And so I just want to say a few more things like that. So we're in the sacred space together. So the first thing is just come back to yourself. Like I often say, just call your energy back into your own body. And one easy way to do that is just put your hands out in front of you and just take a breath in and bring them toward yourself. And just intend that wherever your energy has been all day, all night, you're calling it back into your own body. And just sense that shift. It's tangible. It's tangible. And then take another breath in and do something we civilized people rarely do, and that's send some of your energy down to Mother Earth, Pachamama. It's like extending that love and that presence down through your feet and your root chakra, down below the surface of the earth, which is a part of us too. And feeling that mother who supports everything we do, everything that our body's made out of. I'm not saying these things as theories or just visualizations. These are tangible experiences. And then loving presence to attune to your heart. And this amazing group of people we have here. I'm just so grateful. We have 50 people here tonight. Thank you so much for showing up. So I'm trying very hard to adapt to not having my camera. It might take me a few moments here, but I'll be with you here. Okay, here we go. All right. So yes, we are going to tell you about the 3 quantum healing methods tonight that are really beautiful and simple and that you can start using tonight. And Odysseus is going to talk about Wetiko and eini and some of the shadow work that he works with. That's really beautiful and so right on. And we're also going to, like as he said before, talk about the retreat, some of the things we do. But you see, if that's all we talked about, we wouldn't really be saying the real truth, the bigger truth that really more important to share. That all those things are framed within. And that bigger truth is who we actually are. The fact that you're attracted to this event tonight means that you are an awakening avatar. And I want to say exactly what I mean by that. Yes, it was a famous movie, and yes, it's an icon on a video game, but that's not the way I'm talking about it. The original meaning of avatar is the divine source actually focusing itself into a specific human being and a certain specific human body for a purpose. And that purpose is something that's just an essential part of the healing of this planet at this time. So I'm calling you out and saying that's what you actually are, whether you use that term or not. And that right now, being an awakening avatar, you're one of the most important people on this planet because politicians obviously aren't solving what's going on. They seem to be making it worse. Scientists aren't solving it. I mean, they're doing some great things, but they're not able to solve what's going on. Humanitarians are doing their best. So many people are doing their best, the people who actually can make a positive shift in what's going on in our country and our planet are people who are holding this kind of consciousness. There's like unlimited power in this. And one of the quotes that I really love is from Lao Tzu from the Tao Te Ching, where he just said, the best kind of leader is the one that people don't even know that he or she is even there. Everything just seems to get better in the world, and people just say we did it ourselves. They don't even recognize that because there's somebody who knows how to hold this field. So that's what I think the greatest thing we can do tonight is to hold this field in whatever way you can, which just means be present. Just be with your body, be with your sense of love, and be willing to let go of a lot of false identities that perhaps are from, another time and another place. So this is the quantum realm. It's something that you can sense for yourself. And quantum healing is a gift that comes to you when you start raising your consciousness and releasing identification with the false self that we're indoctrinated in the past. It just comes naturally. It's just you see somebody who's suffering or someone who asks you for help. And I've learned probably more healing techniques than most 10 people. I mean, I've been in the healing arts since I was a teenager, and now I'm way up there. And I never stopped learning, acupuncture and energy medicine, vibrational medicine, counseling, shamanism, so many different things. And I find that those are still very, very helpful. I still use so many of them. But quantum healing is that thing that just happens spontaneously when there's just that heart connection. And I've actually sort of let go of what I think I know and just let things happen. That happened with two people today, actually. It is a form of very positive magic. So when we look at the situation going on, there's some things going on now that I would consider atrocities that are going on in the United States and other places. And so it's when these things are happening, it's easy to go into a state of fear, or maybe a lot of people just denial. I don't want to think about it, or judgment, or just taking some kind of factionalized and polarized view. But there's something beyond all that, and that is being the solution. And that's to me the most exciting thing. I wake up every day knowing I have something to do that's part of the solution. And I see many people's lives changing because I'm here holding a space. And I see many of you are doing that. Like I see Paulette here from my friend from Pennsylvania. I know she does that. Hi, do what you do, and so many other people. And what Ody does, Sarah, and more people I could see here. So thank you for that. Thank you for being that and holding that space. So I want to start with one of these three quantum healing methods that we said that we would talk about. Like these are so simple, and yet they're so unlimitedly powerful. What it really takes to be a quantum healer is not so much a ton of training, although that helps. It's great to get trained and to have the chance to practice. And I have a group of people I'm working with now for that purpose, and we're loving it. I'll tell you, in the first week of this new Master Healer program that started about 3 weeks ago, I got emails spontaneously from probably 4 or 5 of the people in the group just telling me I'm having these remarkable shifts that I didn't even expect. Some people before they even came to the first class. Yeah, one woman actually wrote to me before she gave the first class. She had tremendous doubts about joining this group and all these issues and a lot of financial issues. Like, I don't know if I can afford it. So she came in, and the first day before the class started, she said, I just got this refund I didn't even realize was coming. It's a woman from New Mexico. I'm not making this up. And one of my paintings just got purchased by the city of Albuquerque after never having, in a long time. These things just started happening because she just said yes and stepped into the field. I mean, this stuff, it's cool the way it works. And there's quite a few other things like that. I think I have some of them listed later in the PowerPoint I'm going to show. So let's start with one of the most basic things. And I'm going to spotlight myself so you can see me better now for a few minutes. Okay, so if you want to do this, this is a form of opening sacred space that's called the Wiracocha. I learned this from Peruvian shamanism. If you just put your hands at your heart like this, just connect with your heart energy and just let yourself sink in to the heart. And to do that, it's very helpful when you put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your two front upper teeth, the master hookup. And then breathe in as you raise up your hands. Then bring your hands above your head with the palms facing each other. And see if you could sense an orb of light between your hands. Now, some people are more visual. They may actually see that. Some people, it's more kinesthetic, like you can just kind of feel energy between your hands up here that's stronger than other places. Other people, you just kind of know it's there in some other way. And then once you sense that orb of light, touch your fingers together and breathe out and pull it down all the way around your body. All the way under your feet. Like you're pulling a cocoon of light from above you all the way around you. Just notice what that's like. And it helps to keep the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And now let's do it one more time. Put your hands here. Connect with beautiful heart energy. And again, lift up again. Sense that eighth chakra, also called Wiracocha in the Quechua language. This time when you breathe out, just put it toward everyone else here in the webinar. Just gift it to everyone else. Just feel the ripples going out and feel it coming back to you. Now, if anyone sensed any little shift from that, please put it in the chat. Let me tell you about the chat. It's really a wonderful service. If you experience something in this group, to take a moment to type it there, because you're actually serving, but you're actually taking something intangible and making it more tangible, which is a beautiful service. And it also encourages other people. That's part of Aini, reciprocity, like giving and receiving. Okay, so that's something, the reason I'm going over that is because I do that before every single healing session, every meeting, every class, everything I do like that, including starting the day, because sacred space is actually a different physiological and different frequency space to be in than it is, typical vibration of the mind. I'm sure it's a different brain wave and it's a different like balance of your body. And within that, the magic of healing flows much more easily. I used to be an acupuncturist and an energy medicine expert, and I taught all over the world. And I was very much into techniques. I was a master of techniques. I had all these different things that I was teaching in my seminars and wrote books about them and cataloged and notes about them. And yet, when I'm in this sacred space, the techniques are way secondary. There's just a presence. There's a field that does the healing. So I see a few different things that people have put there in the chat. You want to read them, Ody?
Yeah, so we got scroll up a little bit here. Softness in smoothness from Sarah. Love bumps when sent and received from the group from Carol. I saw and felt, said Emily. Felt connection to everyone from Noel. I felt a huge amount of energy in each part of the process, Joel Sipple. And I felt it too. I kind of chatted. And Kathleen Singleton, I felt a radiating light and connection. And Kenneth said, feeling the energy. He was feeling the juju.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple. But, usually we don't take the time to do that. So I find as long as I take the time to open sacred space before my meetings and healing sessions or business meetings or whatever it is, things go way, way better. So is that complicated? No, it's just there's a part of my mind that goes, oh, I'm in a rush. Come on, quick, I got to get in there. And like, I don't have time for that. So whenever I've let that part of my mind predominate, the results just weren't as magical. They were maybe good, but they weren't amazing like they were today with people. So now there's other parts of this creating sacred space. One of them is called a purity blast. Many of you have heard this from me before. Is I just put my hand like this and just simply say silently or out loud, I now command a purity blast. And I actually just imagine a whirlpool of light, just instantaneous, whoop, just go through my room like that. So let's try it together if you want to experience that. And again, just really sense this, not just on the mind, but try to feel it in your body. I now command a purity blast. Wow. Not only does it clear the room of any other lower vibrational energy, it actually makes you safer, puts a web of protection around you. And then we already talked about calling the energy in, connecting with the earth, just tuning into love. Now, there's one more secret juju that I'm going to talk about with quantum healing, and that's don't do healing alone. Don't do it alone. You don't have to have another human being in the room, but every one of you has a team of divine beings who are working with you, supporting you, loving you. Some people, some people are aware of it, maybe some not. Many people who are Christians talk about feeling the spirit of Jesus or the Holy Spirit, and that's gorgeous. That's wonderful. I often feel that too. Maybe people in other religions or beliefs would call it differently, but we have that. And again, I find that if I start a healing session and I just call on those lineages holders of light who, like, for many, many generations have been doing this master healing, and I get to be privy to that. I get to be part of that lineage. It goes way, way better than if I just Darren's skills and my understanding. That's way down there compared to that. So again, word to the wise that that's very valuable. And I see a few more people mentioned that they felt, more things from the purity blast. Okay, so that's the first quantum healing method, is simply doing what you do in sacred space. Is that kind of complicated? Is that a little too complicated, intellectual for you? I hope not. No. It just is a certain like appreciation and consciousness. The second one is to be able to be spontaneous, which I'm having to be tonight because I had a whole beautiful script planned out on a teleprompter, and I can't get to any of it right now because a battery had failed. So I'm having the privilege of doing all this without any planning. So that's also another wonderful quantum healing skill. It's just uh, there's this one quote in the Bible that I really love, is that Jesus tells his apostles, go out and teach and heal. And they say, but Master, what should we say to the people? He says, don't take any thought for that. The Holy Spirit will just give you the words. So I'm personally not a Christian or a religion, but I found that those words to be very true. If I put myself in a situation where there's people that want to receive something and I just shut up there and just kind of talk, it all comes. So I have the privilege of not having any of my prepared notes. Thank you tonight. Okay. Except the PowerPoint later, which will help. Okay, so the second quantum healing method has to do with your luminous or radiant energy field. This is very powerful knowledge. Now, if you took your arms and put them straight on either side, and since I don't have my good camera, I can't zoom out and in and everything, but you can just imagine that. That's about how wide your radiant energy field is. And then it'd be the same thing above your head and down below your feet. So just imagine that you're in a cocoon of light about that size. Just like expand your sense of your body from not just being the physical body, but your energy body. And it helps if you put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your two front upper teeth. And just relax. So now imagine that there's a sun of light above your head, because it actually is there. You can imagine it, something that's actually there. And there's many suns of light. There's many levels of higher chakras above our head, all the way up to the infinite, and a step down like transformers in a power station to different levels where we can actually use it without burning up. And so let's say there's one that's a few feet above your head, and just see that as a bright orb. And just realize that this is your God self or your divine self. And we're taught to be dumbed down in our culture, to ignore that, to call it woo-woo, to say that it's, blasphemy, of all these things, instead of just knowing it's a natural part of us. So now, when breathe into that orb of light above your head, and then as you breathe out, just feel it coming down, moving down into your head, coming into the center of your head, and then moving down into your heart. And then part of it moves all the way down to your root. And then that whole orb of light around you gets brighter. Oh, this is fun. Let's try it again. Okay, there's this beautiful orb of light way up above your head. I think I'll just spotlight myself so people can see me a little bit better. And it's coming down as you breathe out. It's coming down through the top of your head. And as it gets into the center of your head, it just illuminates, gets rid of a lot of those old cobwebs that have been building up there a long time. They just kind of vaporize. Remember, oh yeah, I forgot about this. I am light. It's even the neuroscientists have been talking about microtubules in our brain, which are these structures that support nerves and that they say is actually connects us with universal consciousness. Science is catching up to this. So that comes on, and then part of that moves down to your heart, and you feel your heart illuminate. And then part of that ball of light continues down through all the chakras down to the root, and part of it into the earth. Just feel this orb of light around you get brighter again. And it helps to keep the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth and just breathe. Now, think of somebody you know who could use healing. It's probably not too hard nowadays, is it, to think of somebody who could use healing? And I have so many friends who have cancer, disability, depression. I mean, so much things that are going on. So just think of somebody, or it could be a group of people, and just imagine that you are taking this beautiful orb of light and extending it to them. Like you're not giving away your own orb of light. You're just simply, because it's infinite, you're just, through love, just extending an aspect of this, like a filament, to go to that person and surround them. And just sense that person being surrounded by this orb of light. If you get this strong intuition, like, no thanks, I don't want your orb of light. Okay, then maybe that person's not the right person. Most people really appreciate it, even if they don't believe in it intellectually. So take another breath from this orb above you into yourself, into your head, your heart, your belly. And then as you breathe out, just light up this own radiant energy field around you. And then again, you could take another breath out and just intend that this orb of light is going to that person that you want to do quantum healing with. And all you have to do is suspend disbelief. Like if there's a part of you going, it couldn't be this easy. No, I'm not qualified. I haven't gone through all the training. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too poor. I'm too rich. Forget all those things. You're qualified. It's just release the disinformation programming of self-doubt and those type of things, and just know that you have the power to send quantum energy to anybody, especially somebody who gives you their permission, like somebody who actually is open to it. It certainly helps. And I found that even people I know who are like not particularly open to this type of work, they don't believe in it. If I simply say, would you like to receive a healing blessing? Just like words like that, very few people will say no, because somewhere in their belief system, that seems to be okay, as long as I don't use any esoteric terms. You can also find out if someone gives permission without actually talking to them. You just ask within yourself and just sense intuitively if you get a yes or a no. So if you want to try that, you could try that now too. Think of someone you know, maybe someone who doesn't believe the kind of things you do, who's skeptical of metaphysical stuff, and just ask that person on an inner level, would you like to receive a healing blessing? And just trust the sense you get. You get more of a positive feeling or more of a negative feeling after you do that. Because we know all this stuff. It's just a matter of acknowledging it. Okay. So this is a very simple form. It's called extending the quantum field. It means when you're on an airplane, they always say to you, fasten your own air mask in the case of a water landing or in case of whatever it is, and then help the person next to you. So that's the way this works. First, you have to make sure that you're in the field, like breathe this quantum energy into your own body and make sure not just in your head, but all the way through your body, and then be grounded and then just extend it to somebody who you love or you care about or a paying client is fine. It's remarkable. Okay, so that's another very complicated quantum healing method that I'm teaching you. It takes very high intellectual capacity to do that one, right? No, it's just simple. These are easy. It's the way they're designed. So is there anybody here who that actually extended the quantum field to someone and had a sense that they were actually receiving it? If you do, like, please put it in the chat. Again, we love hearing you in the chat because this is like the living record that we're making up by these experiences. So Emily said yes. Odysseus said yes. Sarah said yes. Paulette. Yeah. Noel said part of them received it. Well, that's a good insight. That people are complex. We have different personalities and sub-personalities. And so that's a great insight that part of someone can say yes, another part can be skeptical. So as long as part of them says yes, and then Joe and Kathleen also had that. And Kenneth, great connection. Yeah, so this is part of our awakening. Is that the human race has been in a fallen state, and we, in our proud, highly technological Western countries who have thought that we're so superior to the so-called primitive indigenous people, we're finding out that we have a lot to learn from them. That's why I went to Peru last spring and was studying with shamans there because it's my time to really pay homage to these people who have been keeping this light so bright. I learned that um, I come from a Jewish background, so my ancestors went through this horrible Holocaust in Eastern Europe. But the Peruvians went through their Holocaust when the Spanish conquistadors came there about 500 or 600 years ago and just decimated their culture. I didn't realize this, but 85% of all the Native Americans in North and South America died from diseases that were brought by the Westerners, which decimated them. And a lot of them were turned into slaves, and a lot of the best teachings of the shamans, they were called witches and persecuted. And fortunately, some of those shamans went up into the high mountains called the Kero, and they kept these teachings alive and protected up at these freezing mountaintops, above 16,000 feet for 500 years. Where the conquistadors and the Catholic Church never went up there to bother them. And in the last just 50, 60 years, they brought it down and have been sharing it. And I'm very privileged to have taken, learned from them. So yes, they have a lot to teach us right now. And I'm just going to talk about some of the implications of that. Okay, the third quantum healing method I like to share is called your light codes, your DNA light codes. So DNA is like a supercomputer in your body. Like every DNA strand has amazing intelligence, and it has the genetic information of every other DNA in your body. And also there's cosmic DNA it connects with, and the so-called junk DNA that scientists think doesn't have any purpose is actually extra strands that we just don't understand the use of, and may have not been switched on yet because we haven't done enough quantum activations. But you might as well receive some tonight and switch some of those strands on. So for this third one, and you could do this yourself or for clients, would be, again, let's come back to that visualization of your radiant energy field around you, and that you're connecting with that orb of light, your source energy, but also now from your root chakra, drop down a cord of light deep into the earth, deep into the heart of Mother Earth. So we're just as grounded as we are connected upward. This is the Taoist view. Because if you're just connected upward and you're not grounded, all kinds of uncomfortable things happen, as a lot of my clients and friends have found out. A lot of strange, humiliating, uncomfortable things that make you sick. So when you connect upward, connect downward, and you are the marriage of heaven and earth. So from this place, you put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And I love Christina said, I do purity blasts every day, and it has a huge difference. When I take the time to connect with my upper and lower star, it's very sweet. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, well, that's me too. So when you're in this place, you're here in the middle. Just imagine like DNA molecules coming out of your body and just kind of dancing around you. I think we've all seen plenty of pictures like these double helix and they actually do have light. These scientists have measured that the strands of DNA actually put out light that can be measured with scientific instruments. And so just imagine there's these DNA strands around you. And if you look at them with your inner vision, you may notice a lot of things, but what is probably the case is that there's a mixture of dark areas and light areas because we've taken in a lot of positive programming and a lot of negative programming. There's a science called epigenetics, which has been showing that basically our DNA is constantly responding to input that we take in. That would be the food you eat, the way you exercise, the kind of people you hang around with, the media that you watch, and the thoughts that you think, even most importantly, the thoughts that you think and the beliefs you have. So therefore, the expression of DNA has all these genes, but which ones are actually being expressed is changed by this input. So most of the time, so what kind of input do you have if you're watching the news every day? If you're listening to the news, what kind of input is that to your epigenetic systems? Or if you hang around people that tend to complain a lot and are negative and are, um, depressed and sad, what kind of input is that? Or if you eat junk food or whatever it is, these are all things that are going in and switching on certain genes and switching off certain genes. And then your body responds accordingly. So you can take charge of this. And nobody's saying we should be perfect in this regard. Like I still listen to, I still check on the news. I want to be informed. We find our own balance in these things, but just be aware that everything has a tremendous, effect. So right now, let's choose these light codes that we want to put into our DNA. So I'm going to make some statements and you can repeat them after me, or I highly suggest if you want, edit them. You make them your statements. Or say, no, I don't like that one. I'm going to use this one. Like, in other words, you're a sovereign. So use the statements you want, but I'm going to be helpful and at least suggest some. So just feel like you're tuning into all those DNA molecules and you're right in this epigenetic system you're steering the epigenetic system now. You're creating input. So you can say, I am sovereign. I am free. And just feel that reverberating through every DNA molecule in your whole body. I have radiant health and I'm breathing in vital chi that's recharging my cells. My heart is beautiful and it's safe to open my heart and to love deeply. Well, that's a big one for a lot of us, isn't it? Big safe to open our heart. But just to claim it if you want to. It's safe to open my heart and to love deeply. And I'll admit, I'm still working on that one myself. Okay. And Lenore just said many times, friends and clients have noticed feeling the energies and notice instant healings. That's wonderful. Love that. Okay. I have all the money I need and it's growing. In fact, you can go even further and say, I am money. The energy that I truly am is the essence of money. Money is just energy in a certain form. I release any programming of poverty, being a slave, of being less than, of being undeserving, being unworthy. Back to source. So now take into your light codes. I am abundant. I am an adult of God. I always say child of God, but I think it's time for us to grow up. I'm an adult of God. I am now switching on my superpowers and stepping into the greatest, most fulfilling service of my life. And I'm richly rewarded in doing so. These are light codes you're putting into your epigenetic systems. I am safe and protected as I step into my power. Now, that's a huge one for light workers, isn't it? I am safe and protected as I step into my power. Okay. So that's just a little bit here. I mean, we do much more of this in our retreat and in uh, our classes, but I just want to give you a sample of this. So I know that one of my beloved friends and students, Sarah, is with us tonight, and she had wanted to say something because she's been through some of these experiences. And nice for you to hear from somebody other than me and Ody, like here, so that was here. So, Sarah, I'm going to look for you and let's see, make you a co-host.
Here I am.
Oh, here you are. Okay. So why don't you, I'll add a spotlight. And so thanks for coming on. And Sarah is an acupuncturist who lives in Colorado, has two young children, married. Just she's been courageously going into new realms of healing in the time I've known her, which has been a little over a year. And so, Sarah, thanks for coming on to speak.
Thanks, Darren, and thanks, Ody, and hi, everybody. I would like to edit what Darren just said a little bit, that I believe I have formerly called myself an acupuncturist, but now, thanks to Darren and Ody's trainings, I am playing with calling myself something different, an intuitive energy healer, quantum healer. So still kind of figuring that out, but I definitely have a little bit of resistance of just calling myself an acupuncturist because that title just doesn't totally apply anymore. It just doesn't cut it. It doesn't embody the whole kit and caboodle that I feel like I now have all these tools to share, and it's an incredible thing. And so I really want to thank Darren and Ody for being my teachers because both of them have just transformed my acupuncture and energy healing practice and my personal life too. Um, and I love using these tools with my patients, and my patients love these techniques too. And it gives them so much more to work with, and it empowers them because they're doing the healing on themselves. And I feel like that's a huge piece, and I'm sure many of you can relate. And when you're doing your own healing, even if you're not in the healing arts, but when you're working on yourself and bringing about your own transformation, like that's what really can make some massive steps in unleashing your superpowers. And that's really what this work is all about. And I also wanted to add a little bit about the retreat. So going to the retreat last year was absolutely like that was the icing on the cake of Darren's program last fall. That alone really transformed my life. And I was, when Darren and Ody asked me to say a little something about the retreat and my experience, I was just recalling that even on the way to the retreat, I had butterflies in my tummy. I knew that something really powerful was about to happen. And as I was leaving the San Francisco airport, crossing the Golden Gate Bridge with my travel buddy from the class, we saw a double rainbow. And then we got to the retreat space. And as soon as all of the members arrived, there was an earthquake. And I have chills saying this now because it was so powerful that from that moment, we all knew that it was going to be an incredibly transformational 5 days. And for me, it truly was. I mean, I can say that emphatically. Like it's hard to emphasize how much it has helped my practice. It has completely transformed the way that I view myself and I view the world and humanity. And I love this work, and I see my patients loving it. I tell all my friends about it. So I just want to say thank you so much, Darren and Ody, for guiding me on this process. And I love seeing all of you here because you're all clearly being guided to this work as well. So I encourage you to continue with it because it's incredible. It's just a whole new world. I had no idea what I was capable of, really. And this work has helped me find my superpower. And that's
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on and talking and sharing that. It's really touching. It's beautiful. I look forward to seeing you again soon at this next retreat. So glad that you're coming back again. Okay.
I mean, how could I not? How could I not?
How could you not?
Like,
No, you're not foolish. No, you're not.
keep me away.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, well, wow. That takes skill guts to come on just like this and talk like that, but she did it. So anyway, next I want to bring on my beloved friend, Odysseus. And he's gone through my training and he's been through several retreats. And I'm so proud that he has his own institute now, the Alchemy Healing Academy, and he has people all over the country and some other countries that are doing it. And he's expanding his work. He's really doing his work in the world as a courageous spiritual warrior that he is. And Odysseus used to own several gyms, and he still has one in his home that he brings people into. And he was, really, successful athletic trainer, had very successful businesses doing that for many years. And he wrote his own book about shadow awakening, which is really a wonderful book. I highly recommend it. And as he mentioned earlier, he's gone through some hard times. When I first knew him, he was still drinking a lot and using drugs and having like some major difficulties. But I know he went through a thing of seeing several of his high school buddies die of overdoses and things, and it put him through some tremendous grief. And so he completely kicked that a few years ago. And I'm just so proud of you, Ody, because you are really walking your talk and really doing the work, and you're bringing advanced knowledge and information out to a lot of people that otherwise never would have had it. And then he's going to be co-leading the retreat on December 4th through 8th. And also my partner Karina is going to be there also supporting and teaching, from the woman's goddess empowerment perspective. So anyway, Odysseus, I'd like to turn it over to you and share some of the magic about Wetiko and Aini and shadow work.
Right. Thank you so much, Darren. And Sarah, what a great testimonial. That was so fantastic. And one thing I want to say that they didn't mention about the retreat is that Darren actually breaks out his guitar and he actually plays his guitar, and we have lots of dancing and whatnot. It's one of my favorite parts. It's like who here, drop a one in the chat box if you think dancing is healing. I mean, my favorite part about the word abundance is the word dance is in the word abundance. So that's essentially the more you're dancing, the more abundance you're going to have in your life. So we're not going to dance right now, but I was kind of triggered. Like, they didn't even mention the dancing. I'm like, come on, that's one of the best parts, you guys. So there we go. Some folks loving the dancing. All right. So what do we got going on here? I got so much great stuff to share with you guys. So as Darren mentioned, I run the Alchemy Healing Academy, and I'm just going to drop my website in the chat box if anybody wants to check that out. I got a bunch of people from my community who are here with us today, and shout out to my Alchemy Healing Academy. And one thing that we always do when we start my calls is we always do I'm going to ask anybody on camera, just throw your hands up, and then we're going to raise the roof because we're raising consciousness. We're raising consciousness. That woo woo, raising consciousness. Get you all pumped up a little bit for my presentation here. So that's essentially what we're doing here. And the main thing that I want to share with you guys specifically is this topic of shadow work. When we did this in Darren's last presentation, or the webinar we did before, but we're going to go a little bit deeper into Wetiko, and we're going to go over what's called emotional mastery. Now, I have a question I want to ask you guys before I get into that. I'm just curious. Are any of you empaths? Drop a one in the chat box if you're an empath. I'm honestly, I'm just curious. Do we have any empaths in the group? Drop a one in the chat. Lots of I figure I get, like, if you're in here, you're probably an empath. Because what I found, and I'm sure Darren agrees, like, you get a lot of people who are highly empathic. And one of the things that empathic people need is to be around other empathic people, because you feel everything. You guys feel me? I mean, like, literally, you feel me? Like, you feel everything. And it comes back to one of the most important things that Darren taught me is grounding myself. Anybody feel me on that? Drop one in the chat box. Grounding. Oh my God, like, that was a game changer. I was so ungrounded back in the day. And so, as I mentioned this, I want to share a little bit more about my story. So, like, years ago, is like almost exactly 3 years ago, I started telling the story earlier, and this will be brief. But I remember I started Darren's program, I did the 3 healing sessions, and I was like, oh my God, it's time to level up my game and get deeper into this. And I actually went on a trip to Sedona. I think somebody here is from Sedona. And I was out in Sedona, and actually I was like, all right, I'm going to stop drinking. And I had like a 7-day bender. I was having fun in Sedona, partying. I knew I was going to quit. And then I started the year, and I stopped drinking. And I was like, this is the year I'm committing to becoming a healer. And I feel like part of that was just getting sober. And then, like, 2 weeks later, I had a cousin die from alcoholism. And that just like, boom, just like slapped me in the face. And it just kind of cemented my commitment to my path of clearing up my energy, doing that work. Anybody here, man, like, I mean, I'm sure lots of you experienced that. You lose somebody and it triggers, it's a catalyst for change. And so like that was a huge shift for me in terms of committing to doing this work, committing to working with Darren and doing all these things. And that was part of transcendence of my shadow. And that's a key point of what I want to talk to you guys about today. The root of Wetiko is transcendence. Okay. And one of the things about transcendence is like, there's this one great book called on quantum psychology. Anybody ever studied quantum psychology? Throw a 2 in the chat box. Anybody quantum psychology? Let's see. Quantum psychology. You heard of quantum psychology? I'm curious. So there's this great book by Stefan Malinsky. And one of the things that he says, and I want to make sure I hit this early on, because that's essentially what I'm talking about with Wetiko and shadow work is, Sarah from the class, right? Is that transcendence is essentially, you want to flip those words, you're ending the trance. And it kind of comes back to the story that Darren started out with today, like those loud marching music and people can't hear. And I like to make this joke. It's like the world is at this like huge dance club and we're all dancing to this music that's terrible. It's horrible music. And everyone just keeps like, why are we dancing to this music? Well, what's going on? We're like, well, so essentially we're in this trance. It's like trance music, right? And everyone's dancing, but like, I do like to dance, but we want to actually end the trance that we're in. And so when we talk about Wetiko, that's the root of what I'm talking about, is ending the trance and truly awakening to our potential. And as I mentioned, that awakening, as Darren's book is Awakening the Avatar, my book is Shadow Awakening, right? So it's really about awakening that shadow within us. And my book is like beginner stuff. I'm going to be going into Wetiko today. And I want to share with you guys as I pull up my presentation here. Anybody ever heard of Wetiko? In the chat box, drop a 4. Gotta mix up the numbers in here so don't get bored. We got a few people Wetiko. So I'm going to give a shout out to Paul Levy. I want to mention him again when I start my presentation, but he actually wrote a trilogy. I've read 2 of them. This is the first one. I've read these 2. Darren, you just finished reading the 3rd one, correct? Great book. I mean, like amazing books. Highly recommended. But in this presentation, I always tell people when I coach them, like, I'm a great coach, but I'm a legendary book salesman. I'm always selling books to people. But let's get into this presentation so I can break this information down for you guys. And I'm going to keep my chat box open here. Move a couple things. All right. So can you guys see my screen? Hand up, anybody? I can only see a couple of you. Sarah, you can see it? I can see Sarah. All right, perfect. So let's get into this, you guys. Wetiko and emotional mastery.
Yep, we see it.
Perfect. Thank you, Darren. So let me see if I can get that chat box up too. Perfect. All right, just moving a couple of things around. All right, so Wetiko and emotional mastery. So this presentation is a blend of 2 presentations, my presentation on Wetiko and my presentation on emotional mastery. So essentially what we're getting into here is what I like to call, anybody ever heard of the Hegelian dialectic? Drop a 5 in the chat box if you've ever heard of the Hegelian dialectic. Okay, 5 in the chat box. Essentially what the Hegelian dialectic is, and this is some of the stuff that I teach in my Alchemy Healing Academy, is we're identifying the problem, the solution, and the result. Okay, so what is the problem, what is the solution, and the result? And this is essentially what they do in marketing and sales too. But Wetiko is essentially the problem that we're discussing, and I'm going to show you guys the solution, that the solution actually is within Wetiko, and the result is us awakening and having this emotional mastery. So I'm going to kind of guide you through this process. So let's discuss the problem here. The problem is Wetiko and healing the mind virus that plagues our world. And quick shout out to Curtis Weens, who actually did all the animations for this presentation. Thank you so much, buddy. Let's get this rocking. So once again, Paul Levy, this guy has written multiple books. He has this one book on, it's like a quantum thinking book, When Evil Becomes Your Father. Like this, he's written 3 books on, like, this book is a 3-part series on Wetiko. This guy is a genius the way that he explains this. So I highly, highly recommend this book or reading a few of the books in this series. And so let's get into what is Wetiko, okay? Wetiko essentially is the contagious psycho-spiritual disease of the soul, a parasite of the mind currently being acted out en masse in society, creating collective psychosis of titanic proportions. It's cannibalistic in nature, driving our consumption of ourselves. And this is going to get juicy, you guys. So we're going to, like I said, we're identifying the problem. Now, the virus of the mind was coined by the Native Americans to explain the unconscious blind spots in the human psyche. And for those that don't know, psyche means soul in Greek. And so, like, when I explain this, like, somebody asks you, like, later, like, oh, I heard this presentation about Wetiko. It was kind of cool. So, but, like, if you're going to explain this simply, what is Wetiko? I like to say that when Western settlers came to America, the American Indians saw these people and they were, like, killing all the animals, building all these houses, owning all this stuff. And, like, it's like, what is wrong with these people? They can't own enough stuff. They can't kill enough animals. Like, and so they called them Wetiko. It's this mind virus. And essentially what these books go into that Paul Levy wrote is that he's basically explaining that we are hitting peak Wetiko right now in the world. Anybody agree with me? Throw a 6 in the chat box. Would you agree we're hitting peak Wetiko? Oh my, it's like Wetiko-tastic. You can even say some of our world leaders are Wetiko, right? And so that's everyone's like 6. So like that's essentially what's going on here. Like we have this Wetiko virus that is literally running the world. It can be somebody, I'm still like, I notice moments where like my shadow pops up, but I've done the work so I can identify this. So even look at how it could be affecting you. But like, here's the good news, and we'll get into this. When we hit peak Wetiko, it's an opportunity to change it into something different. But what this does is it renders people oblivious to their own madness and compelling them to act out of their own self-interest, destroying themselves in the planet to serve their ego. So if you want to explain Wetiko simply another way, it's the ego virus. It's the me, myself, and I. Like, oh, what time is it, you guys? Oh my God, it's me o'clock. Yes. So you can see where people all over the world are suffering from this right now, and they may not even know why. That is essentially a sickness of the spirit, an inner cancer of the mind in a society that is oblivious to its cannibalistic nature, feeding off our soul essence. And those of you that are healers or into Chinese medicine, essentially, it's feeding off of our jing, which is our essence, our hara, our most sacred sexual energy that we hold. And so that's why this is so important. It's literally feeding on our soul. Now, Wetiko and shadow work, and like Paul Levy does a great, like I like to call my book as like a beginner shadow work book. This book goes much deeper. So I highly recommend if you want to go really deep into shadow work. Now, the way he explains it, and I think this is beautiful, that light that wants to shine needs darkness. So we can see the beauty of Wetiko. And then when we can identify and see it, because light never burns more brightly than when it has to fight. And it is through darkness that gives birth to light. So when we actually go into this dark space, when we can face Wetiko, that's why educating people about this and understanding this is literally critically important at this time in society. The descent into darkness always means discovering our light. And if we do not acknowledge or see our darkness, we deliver ourselves into its hands. That's essentially what a lot of people are doing for those that weren't in my last presentation with Darren, the more we suppress, repress, and deny our shadow, we're repressing, suppressing, and denying parts of ourselves. And when we get triggered, which we're going to talk about more later, those parts of ourselves pop up and we don't show up authentically. And as they say in, I think it was Albert Korbsky said, the map is not the territory. When we're triggered, our old map comes up and we're no longer conscious, which is a lot of what's going on in the world today. Now, the only way to avoid confrontation with the shadow is to live in eternal darkness. And this may be some people that you love, like we have like family members who just aren't taking care of their health, or they're really struggling with their mental health or emotional health, right? And this is essentially where much of humanity is right now. And the beauty of like us talking about, oh, this stuff's so dark, but like the only way we transcend this stuff is that we have more conversations about it. And that's what's so beautiful. And that's why I love sharing this stuff, because the more we talk about it, that's how we change. Now, our blindness, this is straight out of the book. This is like a way, I love the way he writes this. Our blindness to our shadow is extremely dangerous. Our blindness to our blindness is one of the chief features of how Wetiko actually controls us, okay? Our unconsciousness to our unconsciousness, the blindness to our blindness. So the mind virus, Wetiko, is the collective psychosis, a true virus of the mind that is plaguing society. Humanity essentially is truly blind to this disease, which plagues us and is not seen, nor is it measurable from a scientific perspective. It's essentially our collective shadow that we are suffering from. Much of Western society is trauma-based insanity. based on excessive competition, which completely disconnects us from our soul and feeding the virus. Like I said, me sharing this with you guys, there's an opportunity to change because many of you are doing the work. You are conscious. Now, the very basic framework of Wetiko is the unconsciousness that keeps humanity in the darkness, created by not examining our shadow. And if any of you guys have studied Jungian psychology, you'd see how this is being played out so much in our modern society today. Now, shadow projections. Okay, let's start figuring out how do we shift these things, right? So what the shadow projection itself, the shadow projects itself externally so that it can remain hidden. Everything's going on out here. It's like you can probably talk to some people that you know, some people you may love, and like you'll talk to them and you can like listen to them. And I noticed this from being a coach, that you can literally ask people certain questions and they can actually, through their communication, all the stuff, it's all happening out here. I'm just a victim. And I'm just like, it's like they're watching a movie screen and they're projecting onto the movie screen and they're so upset with the movie, but they're the one projecting the image onto the screen. And you listen to their words, you're like, why are you projecting this image onto the screen? Because they haven't integrated their shadow. Now, the shadow is always where your eyes are not. It works through our blind spots to keep us unconscious, entranced by our own delusions, right? That's why I love teaching this stuff, because they start to identify, as they say in alchemy, the essences, and you start to integrate these emotions, and that's when things begin to change. Now, seeing the world through the lens of the shadow, we perceive it as everything happening out there. This is actually what keeps so many people stuck in a victim mindset, which is just Wetiko feeding on us from within. Now, we typically avoid the shadow as long as we can conventionally project it into someone else. It's not me, it's them. It's them. Like, it couldn't possibly be me. And actually, I read this one book years ago, I forgot the name of it, where it talked about, it was a shadow work book. It said that most wars are literally people just projecting their shadow back and forth at each other. I thought that was quite interesting. Now, shadow work continued. The shadow, this is a very key point if you're taking notes, the shadow has two aspects. The personal dimension having to do with our own wounds and our ability to respond to its traumatizing effects. Then there is the universal collective shadow and the collective darkness. One of the things that I say to everybody, and every one of you as well, the work you do on yourself helps to heal the collective of humanity, because we're all connected through the quantum field. Many of you already know this, but that's one of the key points. That like having communities like this and doing retreats like we're doing out in Santa Cruz, where you have these opportunities to come together and amplify our power in the quantum field, right? That's why we do this work. That's why I do this work. I love teaching it. Now, the shadow can be thought of as being the inferior part of everyone's personality, the darker half of the human totality, and humanity's worst danger. If we keep suppressing it, it is our greatest danger. Now, shedding light on our darkness magically empowers us to be able to deal with the evil that exists in the outer world. It's essentially alchemy, as within, so without, which is the law of correspondence, as above, so below. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, each person doing shadow work collectively heals the planet's consciousness. And this is why doing your inner work is crucial to humanity. So just for a moment here, I just want to acknowledge, I know many of you in this group here today have done a lot of work on yourself. So just take a moment, place your hand on your heart, and just allow yourself to feel that gratitude for yourself just for a moment, for all the work that you've done. I just want to acknowledge everybody here, because I know some of you, I don't know all of you, but I know if you're here, you've done some work. So just thank you. And just feel yourself receiving that gratitude from me. I really appreciate all of you so much. Now let's keep going here. Gotta acknowledge you guys for doing the work, right? That's the key here. So shadow work and alchemy. And this is what I do a lot in my academy. We have weekly calls in the academy and different topics each month. Next month, we're going to be doing trauma and memory from Peter Levine's book. And so when we talk about shadow work and alchemy, the shadow contains one of my favorite words. If you're taking notes, write this word down. Enantiotremia. I may not be saying that right, but the shadow contains within itself the seed of enactiodramia, which is the conversion into its opposite. And this word right here is why I'm so adamant about teaching the alchemical arts, so adamant about teaching shadow work, so adamant about empowering people just like you, and then you going out and empowering others. Because the more people we get to do this work, we go into the darkness. As I mentioned earlier, Stefan Wolinski's work in quantum psychology, he said the same thing. The more we actually go into the pain, into the emotion, it begins to shift into its opposite. So that's why everything that we're doing here It's arguably the most important thing that we can do in this lifetime is embodying our soul, doing our shadow work is essentially soul work. And so each one of you and all of us on this call, by having these conversations, we're actually starting to co-create this new reality, this new earth together, this enatiotremia. And another way of looking at it, it's the purification. This is part of the reason why I got sober years ago, or philosopher's stone, which we seek. And that's the symbol for my academy. And there's the picture, the symbol for the philosopher's stone. The shadow world of the unconscious becomes the divine furnace for purification. In alchemy, they call it the alembic. And your body is essentially this sacred container for your inner work practice. And that's where working with Darren and some of my other mentors, all the tools that I've integrated have helped me so much to integrate these teachings and now share it with others. Now, in alchemy, this is what's called the prima materia, or raw material to discover our gold in the darkness. To discover our gold in the darkness, this prima materia, also known as the first matter that we find within ourselves. And in this way, like I said, that we've identified the problem, now we're moving into the solution and the result, right? In this way, Wetiko offers us a gift, the opportunity to awaken a seed within the darkness. And that's what we're talking about when we mention shadow work, as well as emotional mastery. Now we'll transition into my second little presentation here. Like I said, I took two presentations, kind of chopped them down into this one for you guys. Now, how do we solve this issue of Wetiko? It really comes down to emotional mastery. And I'd love to just for a moment check in with you guys in the chat box. What does emotional mastery mean to you? What does emotional mastery mean to you? I'm really just curious. What does that mean? Emotional mastery. It means when your emotions are flying high, you're running away, or are you embracing them? What does emotional mastery mean to you? In the chat box, anybody. Mastering your feelings. I use my emotions as guides. Yes. Being grounded is my true self, not just identifying my thoughts. Thank you. That's that key part is being grounded. Feeling them, not running away, the ability to experience your emotions in the moment. Self-compassion. Yes. Yeah, like I really was just curious what you guys think this word means. It's like you say a word and like people can have so many different meanings. Like the word love, there's so many different versions. I think there's like 8 or 9 different versions of like what love means. Seeing your emotions, illuminating opportunities for growth, having a sense of humor. That's right. That is emotional mastery, operating at a higher frequency. Recognizing something happening deserves attention, perhaps a conscious response. Nice, good stuff. Yeah, so emotional mastery, guys, like this, arguably to me, like I'm actually thinking about creating a teen emotional mastery course right now in one of my programs because like so many teens need support emotionally. But I want to go into this. The first thing I want to do, anybody love Dr. Joe Dispenza? More people are dropping out in the chat box. I love it. I just want to keep us going. Anybody ever heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza or watched his work or read his book? Yeah, I've read a couple of his books. So this comes from Becoming Supernatural, which I have right here. When I use people's content, I always got to give them love. So Becoming Supernatural, very alchemical book with the caduceus on the front there. And so what I'm talking about with emotions, I love this picture. It's one of my favorite pictures because a lot of people are like, what's an emotion? I never heard of that. Like, how do I like just feel it? But what is it? Because emotions are abstract. Okay. And so when we talk about emotions, we can look at the lower or slower frequency emotions. Look over on the left of the screen. It says slower frequency, greater density matter. So when we're in this victim mind state, it doesn't have a lot of oscillation. Okay. And that's a key point because as we polarize our emotions, which is what we're going to speak into today, and some of this content comes from my book actually, is that as we polarize our emotions, we move from this slow, more linear model of consciousness, which is a Newtonian Cartesian model of consciousness, which is very dense, more 3D, and we actually polarize our emotions into a higher frequency. And when I say frequency, I'm talking about those waves, right? Then those waves are moving, the density begins to shift. And you see over on the left there, elevated emotions, faster frequency, greater energy. That's why I love using this picture because I try to explain that to people. And then I put up this picture, a bunch of weird wavy lines, and somehow it makes sense. But essentially what we're talking about here is understanding when I say polarity of emotions, we're moving from like shame to bliss or guilt to appreciation. And this can literally save your life. Save your life. Anybody read Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural? I hope I say this right. There was like this doctor who had like stage 4 cancer. I don't remember it all correctly, but she went to all these doctors. It wasn't until she healed her emotions that things begin to shift, right? And that actually happened to me too before I met Darren. I had to shift my emotions, and he helped to trigger that shift for me. Now, why emotional mastery? Chronic low vibe emotions lead to disease. If you agree with that statement, put a 8 in the chat box. 8 for infinity. Chronic low vibe emotions lead to disease, right? Everyone's like 8, 8, 8, 8. Everyone's like, yep, yep, yep. Oh, Oscar threw a 1 in there. Thanks, Oscar. So, because that's like, I didn't realize it's like, Rose don't know, I got my degree in kinesiology, right? So like, I have a pretty good understanding of how the body works. I remember when this emotional stuff came up, I went to so many Western doctors and not a single one talked to me about my emotions. And it wasn't until I identified that things began to shift. And that's where my journey into my own emotional healing really shifted, because I didn't realize emotions can affect my physical body. That was like literally like when those light goes off, like, wow, like mind's blowing, right? So you guys get it. Chronic low vibe emotions lead to disease. Now, how do we shift this? We polarize our emotions. Like I said, this is part of a chapter from one of my books. And we're going to go into what that actually looks like. And the key thing, I think Emily actually mentioned this in the chat box, is you want to use your emotions versus your emotions using you. Now, what does that actually mean? Use your emotions versus your emotions using you. Now, the more you suppress, repress, and deny your emotions, you're suppressing, repressing, and denying aspects of yourself, aspects of your psyche. So we all experienced trauma. If you've been alive in the last 10 years, you've experienced trauma living on planet Earth. But some of us have different, like lowercase trauma and uppercase trauma, right? And so trauma or alcohol abuse, drug abuse, all these different things, what will happen is part of our psyche can get fractured, and we can actually, or we can just choose to consciously or unconsciously suppress or repress those aspects deep into the psyche. And the more that we do that, that's where they're using you, right? And so that's where we want to learn how to integrate those emotions. And a big key part of this that Darren and I spoke about a lot is embodiment. That's why we're calling our retreat the Healing Embodiment Retreat, because you have to embody these teachings and integrate those emotions. Now, when you master your emotions, you have less stress, less depression, less anxiety. I always like to say it, depression is your energy focused on the past. Anxiety is your energy focused on the future, right? Because emotion is energy in motion, right? Or it's not if you're stuck, okay? Emotion, energy in motion, or it's not. Now, what also happens, you have more empathy, deeper relationships, and higher quality communication. Truly priceless, you guys. That's why I love teaching this stuff to others. You'll easily overcome life's challenges and improve mindset and body and also heart connection, that mind, body, heart connection, those three Dantians, and that power and that energy is moving very gracefully throughout your entire body. Now, polarity of emotions. Like I said, this is a part of a section in my book, because I realized people, like, I didn't really understand this stuff, and I really suffered. That's a lot of why I love teaching this stuff, is I'm sharing what got me out of a dark night of the soul, a very dark space. So always be aware. Like, this is the law of polarity in the Hermetic principles, or what's called the Kabbalion. I always say I'm flashing books on you guys, but the Kabbalion, right? So the law of polarity, whenever you experience one emotion, there's always, no matter how much your ego wants to go, no, not another opposing emotion, there's always an opposing emotion. So these are just examples. You could experience hate, but love's always there. It's just maybe a different octave, a frequency above or below. Remember, these always can be measured in frequencies from that first slide. So we could be selfish and have generosity. You may agree with these opposing emotions or not, but the key thing is understand there's like a yin and a yang to each of these energies, a yin and a yang to each of these energies. So we can understand, that's why I have this slide, to know the balance between these polarities, because when you understand that balance, that's where you create the awareness. And that's the key thing here. I mentioned in my own book, the first step is awareness and the final step is awareness, but it's a higher state of awareness. Okay. So just keep going here. So how do you polarize your emotions? Like I said, I'm just condensing a whole chapter of my book here in a few slides. The first step, like all things, as I mentioned, is emotional awareness. You have to be aware of what's going on for you. And I have another slide that's going to go deeper into that in a moment. When you experience an emotion, you can polarize your thought process and experience the opposite emotion. This is why your awareness is so crucial to making this shift, right? Because that keeps you from getting stuck. This doesn't mean you repress it. So like you could be in a situation where you can't express or feel that emotion in the moment. You can take note of it. You can also process it later. That's why learning these tools, like I said, is absolutely priceless. Now, this allows you to get through difficult situations where if triggered, you don't allow those repressed emotions to arise and project them onto other people, harming your relationships. Now, my question is, what if we're addicted to low vibe energy, those lower vibrational emotions? So I'm going to show you guys what the addiction cycle looks like. As I mentioned, I'm just condensing a few slides from my emotional mastery chapter of my book. Now, this addiction cycle, if you're taking notes, this is really powerful right here. I've shared this in many of my presentations. What happens to many people is they get addicted or stuck in this cycle. They get triggered. There's like, let's say you're at work and somebody says something. You're at Thanksgiving dinner and your Uncle Larry, no offense to Larry's out there, says something that's very triggering about like politics or something like that. So somebody does something or says something and boom, you're really triggered. And from that trigger or that stimulus, you create a meaning or some logic. And that meaning can be a limiting belief. I'm not worthy of love. Money doesn't grow on trees. My feelings aren't valid. I'm not good enough. I'm a victim. Okay. So these are all just examples of you being triggered and the meaning or the limiting beliefs that are showing up for you. That creates an emotion. And that emotion can be anger, guilt, shame, sadness, any of those lower vibrational emotions. And this creates a hormonal response. That's another point that I always like to add there, which creates the behavior. So people get stuck in the cycle. And what even happens to many people, they get triggered and there is no meaning and they go right to the emotion. And this keeps them trigger, emotion, behavior. And that's a place where you are very unconscious because a lot of people don't understand their emotions. They're not slowing down enough to identify. That's a key word. All change, if you're taking notes, write this down. All change happens at the identity level of our consciousness. All change happens at the identity level of our consciousness. So when you slow down, this is why your meditation practice, your breathwork practice is so important to stay embodied, right? That's our word for the day, is when you get triggered, you're able to slow down. Your nervous system is attuned, right? Your mind and body are connected. You're able to identify what meaning is coming up, what emotions are showing up, and then your behaviors will shift long term. And that is extremely powerful. I share this with so many different people and just breaks down this cycle. And eventually you can change where I still get triggered, but I identify what meaning comes up for me. I'm able to move into myself into a polarized and higher emotional state and make sure that I'm exercising, eating healthy, and doing all that good stuff too. Take care of myself. Self-care on point, baby. Self-care. Now, we're almost done here. A couple slides to go. Energy flows where the mind goes. The greater the frequency, the more energy. Just like I said, you're focused on the past, you're going to create depression. You're focused on the future, you're going to create anxiety. So I love doing central channel breathing, just connecting into the present moment, staying grounded. And that's where you can actually shift your frequency and your energy into the present moment. Now, the question to ask yourself, are you experiencing high-level emotions or are you constantly vibrating from low-level emotions? I know many of you people on this call today, you've done your inner work, but you still got to deal with other people who haven't done their inner work. And that can be quite a challenge. Put a 4 in the chat box if you have challenges with other people who haven't done their inner work. Put a 4 in the chat box. Like everyone's like 4, 4, 4, 4. Like your friend, your family, they just haven't done their inner work. So, yeah, it's no joke, you guys. That family and friends, they can be the most triggering of all. Now, your vibrate in the frequency of that vibration, either high or low level emotions, will ultimately determine your reality and your happiness. And as I mentioned before, this is what actually creates disease for so many people operating from that lower vibrational frequency consistently. Now, chronic happiness or depression and anxiety really comes down to being aware of your emotions, where they are coming from, and how you manage that emotional energy to move into a higher vibration. And just this last slide here, this is from another presentation that I do. Anybody ever studied David Hawkins' work? And I also have that same slide that I showed you from earlier from Joe Dispenza. You can see this. I thought this was crazy because like we have these two geniuses explaining this information, and their primary pictures that explain emotions are pretty similar. Like you look at the top here, we got love on both sides of the top, and you see like was anger and grief, and you see how there's a great similarity to the lower vibrational emotions than the scale of consciousness that David Hawkins created. So the main thing when we talk about emotional mastery is we get as many people on the planet to consistently operate at that higher vibrational frequency. So how do we do that? Through our shadow work. How do we do that? Through polarizing our emotions. How do we do that? By facing Wetiko and acknowledging this deep inner work. So with that said, want to thank you all for tuning in and allowing me to share this information with you. I truly love teaching all this information. If you want to check out our weekly calls, go to alchemyhealingacademy.com. Like I said, we have weekly calls. We have my book. I do one-on-one coaching. I do quantum healing sessions, thanks to Darren. And next month's topic is trauma and memory. So if you can tune in for that, you can go to my website and you can sign up for the trauma and memory presentation. We do a presentation third Thursday every month. So, excuse me. Let me stop my screen share. And then I'd love if anybody has any questions or comments in the chat box. Just give you guys a moment. Thank you, Richard. It was a pleasure sharing that. And I couldn't see everybody in the chat box. I'll just scroll up a little bit, see if I missed anything. But yeah, any questions, comments? Did you enjoy that presentation? Did you get some value out of that? Yeah, Darren, that book, Power vs. Force, is really good. I love Joe. Yeah, thank you to everybody. All the interactions, beautiful stuff. So I'll finish with this, you guys. So the key thing here is the work that we're doing here as a community is not just about working on yourself, but healing the collective of humanity. So I want to finish with that. And I also want to bring on my buddy, Darren, if you could find Oscar. And I wanted Oscar to share his experience. I hosted my own retreat back in May. And I'd love for Oscar to come on here and share his experience from coming to her healing embodiment retreat. We got two men running her healing embodiment retreat. It's all about connecting with Mother Earth. But Oscar, you want to come on and share real quick your experience?
Can you hear me?
You guys can hear him, yes? Thumbs up. Darren, I don't know if you can put him in the spotlight.
What's his name listed under? It's not under Oscar on the list.
Oscar, OG. Oscar Garcia Cervantes. Did I say that right? And but before Oscar goes, I just want to give a shout out to Oscar. Oscar joined my academy a year ago, got sober, came to my retreat. He's built his own healing business called Calibri Healing Arts. And I've been coaching him and developing him into this amazing healer. And he's just such a magical human being. Like, he's inspired me so much in terms of the work that he's done. And he's out there in North Carolina supporting more people in their healing. He teaches all. We were talking about dance earlier, right, Oscar? He's a dance instructor. So he heals through movement. And so thank you, Oscar. I'd love for you to share your experience with
movement is the medicina. Yeah. So I think, going back, I met you when you did the workshop about the body keeps the score. I went into that one because 5 years ago I tried to commit suicide. It was my second time dealing with alcohol, drug addiction, pornography. And it was hard. It was. I didn't want to live anymore. And then Leo shared your workshop, and I was like, ooh, I'm reading this book. And got interested. I was really naive about all the information about healing. I would never thought that I will become a healer. I am a healer because having 9 chronic disease, in addition with, depression, anxiety, I have 0. I don't take no medication. And I did it because my family has died from diabetes. 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with 13.7 A1C. I had to take insulin, and I rejected it, and I started working on myself. So I've been 0. My health is perfect. I can't believe, that I have work, and just go deep. And then when Odysseus told me about his retreat, I say, yeah. And I just jumped into it. I went to the retreat. It was amazing. The food was excellent, but just the being around with guys with masculine energy, and also my friend Alicia, she was with us. It was just like everything is perfect, in our lives. And just knowing that, what you go through, your shadows, since I was 5 years old, I was, sexually abused for my cousins for so many years, and that really, I tried to stop alcohol. I couldn't. Drugs, I couldn't, until I went deep and knew that it was from my, sexual trauma, being abused from like adults, and just like going deep. It was really hard. And one of the best exercise that I remember, it was the four shield truth mandala that Odysseus had. I had so much anger, so much grief. I cried like maybe I had never cried, because it was so much anger from my parents, that being so young and not protecting me, and just felt like ugly as a human because I was being damaged, But I discovered the gift that I have. I discovered the spirit that I embody, that I'm perfect the way I am, that I changed, transmuted that pain to love, that how um like quantum thinking, like I remember, I was like, I don't drink. Why would I be an alcoholic? And that's how, like, and then just like saying that, like, and like until I had a relationship with alcohol and say, you know what, you serve me, I had a great time with you, but I don't need you in my life, and just that had that, kind of the relation. So, and I was like, why would I call myself an alcoholic? Or like, why would I call myself a diabetic if I don't have it? So I don't call myself diabetic. I don't call myself an alcoholic because I don't embody those things. So it was really it has opened my eyes from attachments, from indoctrination, from limited beliefs, and now I see myself as a, like the fire within me that lives, even like I told Ody, the next retreat I'll be there, and I'm going there, it's already, I'm gonna be there in 2 months. So, and now that Darren's gonna be there, I'm like, fuck, yes, I'm a quantum healer. I am, I like, and I think because I didn't believe it, but I have done so much work in my own that I like, and it was like, I did so much things, and it was because I was denying my feminine energy. I was just giving, pleasing people until, like with Otis, and like, still, calm down, ground yourself. And then it's like, it's okay. Like now, I love to receive. I love to go to a class and just enjoy dancing. I don't have to teach it. I just need to enjoy yoga. So, like I was never home because I was denying, I was like, I need to protect. I need to be the man, No, we as men, we need also to be loved. We also to be, to feel that energy within us, that and now I see my parents, I don't see them with judgment. I see them with love that they suffer. I still see my mom, like I can change her. I can change it the way I live my life because, she's going to see me, and I'm so blessed that she saw me sober, that she sees me as a different person, that I know, one day if she goes before me, she transitions before me, she's going to be happy, that I have changed my life. I have turned around. So I'm really blessed. I'm really proud, and and I keep working on me. I mean, there were so many things that happened in the retreat. The healing, the hand ceremony, having 10 guys touching you with love, giving you a massage. That was like, wow. And I mean, it's just like, now I prioritize my life with nature, with meditation. I would never thought that I would do meditation. Now I do 45 minutes meditation in the sauna, and it is really hard because we see the world that it's crazy. But I think stay strong and we come together as a collective, we can change because we have changed ourselves. And that's the medicine that we're gonna, like start within in to go out. So this is my my so thank you.
Thank you. I love
Wow,
it.
Oscar, great meeting you. I look forward to meeting you at the retreat. You're amazing.
And dance, of course.
Bring the dance. Okay. Hope you bring some of that salsa and merengue with you.
Yes.
Right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for speaking. Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. Odysseus, thank you for bringing him.
My pleasure, man. He's been a gem.
Yeah.
A gem. Love you, Oscar. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to try to end this a little bit earlier than two full. It's a 2-hour webinar, but we'll probably end up a little bit earlier here. And I'm going to share the screen with. If I could find myself. I've been trying to find myself, but it's so hard. There I am. Okay. Add spotlight. Okay. So anyway, I know you had a short amount of time to have a very deep subject, Ody, but that's what you're talking about is really important because we can look at what seems to be so insane and so hard to explain what's going on in the planet, but it actually, this thing of Wetiko, it's like something that has been hidden. And Wetiko thrives on being hidden. So when you bring it out in the open is when it loses its power. So we're bringing the stuff out in the open and we're bringing things out. And I want to say that this is meant to be the greatest time of your life. It might seem like the world's crazy. There's so many problems, there's so many issues and so many stresses and so many things stretching us in so many directions. But I'll tell you, like you as a light worker, as a healer, whatever word you'd use, conscious human being, this is meant to be the best time in your life, and it can be. And the thing that really, the really thing that gets in the way of people like us experiencing that is fear. Fear, false evidence appearing real. It sure appears real, doesn't it? But there's two kinds of fear. There's the fear that's pretty obvious, like being afraid of a specific thing, and you can maybe work on that. But the fear that's more insidious is the more fear that's hidden, that Wetiko fear that just kind of keeps you a little bit inhibited, where you're just a little bit shy about putting your best offerings out in the world or opening your mouth and speak. Like Oscar, you're amazing. You didn't have any fear. Like you already worked through so much of that. You just told it and just blessed us with your transparency and your love and your vulnerability. And so, Oscar's in his power, and Ody, you did an amazing job, whatever you did to help him, and right on. Uh, so I feel like he's an inspiration to us. And I feel like my whole life's been a journey of eradicating fear. And in the shamanic medicine wheel, the direction of the West is represented by the animal, the jaguar. And the jaguar represents your emotions, like your deep, a lot of the stuff Ody was talking about, but also the ability to really step out of fear, to live fearlessly. And you can do that and be safe. And that's the magic that we're going to talk about in our retreat, because we can be, and how you can actually be in your power and you can be safe, like I was saying in the process earlier. It just takes being grounded. It takes having your community, having your posse, so you're not alone doing it. That's the key. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this retreat coming up. We're having it on December 4th through 8th at Land of Medicine Buddha near Santa Cruz, California. And the last of these webinars we did, which is about a month ago, was really worked because we got a lot of people signed up for the retreat. And we're down to only having 3 spaces left because we don't want to make it a really big retreat. We're keeping the size, on the smaller side. So actually, one of the reasons we are offering this tonight was just to open this up to those 3 people who feel like they're ready to have a really transformative, fun experience with dancing, with a lot of dancing, I'll tell you, but also a lot of quiet time, deep meditation time where you're not rushed. You don't have to think, oh God, I got to go get to, my office, but just, in a group that amplifies this quantum vibration where you don't even have to try to meditate. You just like relax and it's right there. It's deep. It's like, when your emotions need to flow, and they'll flow, and you need to just be quiet, you'll be quiet. God willing, we don't have another big rainy weekend. We'll be out in nature on the 100 acres, that they have there at Land of Medicine Buddha. Some silent time out in nature. But the biggest part of it is this group field that we have. And I hope you sensed it a little bit tonight, this group field, like how amazing it is. This is just on Zoom for like an hour and a half. But when we get in person with this, remarkable group of people, and we have 5 days, and basically we consider it a digital fast, like just put your digital stuff aside, and unless you want to take a picture once in a while, but just to just be with yourself, just be with your family. It's hard to put into words. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint presentation with a few images from it, which will make it a little more fun. So let's see, do that. So there we go. That should look pretty reasonable there now. So it's called, as Ody came up with this name, Healing Embodiment Retreat, which is great because it's more about, as Oscar said, getting in touch with your feminine, especially for us guys, and for women to honor your deeper feminine, your goddess part of you, and really letting it manifest in yourself. So at this time, the most powerful solutions come from shifts in consciousness. And so what this is really about, the Healing Embodiment Retreat, is you get deeply in touch with the master healer that's within you. If you're a professional healer like Sarah, of course, it's been revolutionized what she does with acupuncture. But even if you're not a professional, just for yourself, for your family, for your participation in the healing of the earth, it doesn't matter how you apply it. And I'll stick behind this. You are an awakening avatar, and this is your time to shine. But it's not just us as individuals. We're doing this as a collective. So here's some pictures from our last retreats. This is Ody, myself, and my beloved partner, Karina. And actually, one thing I'm going to do, hold on a moment here. Here we go. And put on this music that I had prepared for this to go in the background. So I put here just some comments from people that have been in the programs, been in some of these events. A lot of meditation. This is our last retreat. Sarah was there. Ody was there. Bill, who's going to be coming back, is there with us. Karina. Ody, can you hear that music in the background?
I do not hear music, but I love that picture.
Okay. Okay.
Shannon, that's who introduced me to Darren.
Yep, she's the one introduced. These are all people that have mostly been on retreats or are about to. we have a lot of time where learning these quantum healing methods that are very simple, and it's such a magical environment that even if you know nothing about healing, you just find yourself facilitating these remarkable shifts in each other. And if you do know about it, then if you've already done it, you just go to the next level of that. And you can see it's just something that moves from someone's heart to someone else effortlessly. It's just being in the state, being in the field. So Santan came to the retreat at Land of Medicine Buddha last time. She said the online program culminating in the live retreat was profoundly healing, transformational, inspiring, evolutionary, and motivational. This woman's really good with words, as you can see. It truly was all remarkable. The presentation, the incredible individuals in the group, the creation of the group quantum field, the exercises, the material, the invocation of the divine, and all of our avatar selves. So Land of Medicine Buddha is 100 acres, gorgeous Northern California area. And there's all these Buddhist shrines all over the place that you can walk to, and you'll have time to do that. This is the Wish Fulfilling Temple, I think, is what this one's called. This was our retreat about a year and a half ago at Land of Medicine Buddha. I had some huge awakenings, letting go of karma and transformation. I was able to shed some things that my spirit had been carrying. Other acupuncturist, Katie. This was our retreat that was up in Northern Cal, a different one that was up near Clear Lake, California, and then Ody helped out at and taught at. This is something you learn called adjusting the assemblage point. Okay, with crystal wand. And this is actually the building where we're going to be meeting at Land of Medicine, but it's called the Pine Room, and it's a really lovely space. Big, so there's lots of room to spread out, have massage tables and dance and move, and have silent times. We like that. And it's about a 2-minute walk from where you eat. That's always easy. Chris, this was a retreat I did in Pennsylvania. She said, I love the pace of the class, the ease, the humor, the music, the singing, the practices, and most especially the information. It shifted my willingness to get out of my head and into allowing. This woman's a Reiki master, Chris. This is another retreat we did about 7 or 8 years ago. The Marconi Center out near Point Reyes National Monument, California. Shannon, also from Pennsylvania. I experienced life-changing moments during meditations. I've been unwound and unbound. I experienced feelings of a very high level of love and transformation. I met, felt, and saw parts of me within that will absolutely change my future. And so this is the URL for the website for the retreat. Like I said, I'll email everybody this link so you don't have to write it all down. But this is some part of the hero's journey. It's something that part of the hero's journey is you feel a call, like you're living your life. Everything is the way you are more familiar with. And then a call comes, something comes that you feel like, whoa, there's something, a bigger picture. There's a next step for me. There's something that my soul is like tapping me in the shoulder saying, hello, And so I would expect that if you've watched this presentation and you've been with us this long, if that's happening to you, you'll know. And it's always often seems initially inconvenient to change your schedule and, book the flight or put out the money or whatever it is. But if you're feeling the yes for this inside, is well worth just doing it anyway, because those things will all work out. And the cost of the retreat's actually very reasonable. Anybody I've told it to, it's $1,695 includes the entire retreat, all the teaching, all the meals, and all the lodging. So, I mean, that's actually very reasonable for anybody that feels the call to come and be with us. And you don't have to have any previous experience in quantum healing. We do require that you have a phone call with Ody or I just to make sure it's a good match. But otherwise, that's where we are. And so we're near the end of our webinar. If anybody has any other questions or any comments you want to say before we close here today, I want to finish, see if Ody has anything, then to finish with the closing activation. So Ody, anything you want to say?
I just wanted to thank everybody for attending. Hopefully you enjoyed my presentation, and I'd love to play with you guys and dance with you guys at the retreat if you're game to come down and have some fun. One of my favorite parts about doing these retreats with Darren is just being in the energy of other people who are doing the work. And that alone is powerful, like meeting people like Sarah and other people that I've met at all the retreats, or when Oscar came to my retreat. It's just, when you're immersed for a weekend with other people who are doing the work, that is the medicine. And it's at the land of the medicine Buddha. And it literally changes everything for you. I always come back feeling even more inspired, because it's not easy out there. The world, we're all up against Wetiko. So like, why not connect with your light tribe, and let's do the work together so you don't feel so alone. Because I remember 10 years ago, I felt very alone on my healing path. And I feel so much more empowered having a community. So if you're on the fence, join us. You won't regret it. It'll be the best money ever spent. So thank you all. I love you.
And Ody is a truly loving person, and his hugs are worth traveling for. You got a hug from Ody. And same thing for Karina and Sarah and all these wonderful people. So we're just going to close this in a few minutes of an ending quantum activation. Just let go of the need for your mind. Has probably tried to hold on and learn a lot of these things we're talking about. Just let go of that for now. Bring your attention back inside the temple of your body, up the tip of your tongue and the roof of your mouth, behind your two front upper teeth. That's called the master hookup. Just relax. Just know that your home is a part of your spiritual family. Maybe you have many other subsets of it. Your home. And I'll tell you one incredible fact. And that's that the darker things seem to be in the outside world, in the news and the media and the politics, the brighter things shine for avatars. I'll say that again. The darker things seem to be in the outside world. Even in your own personal life, if you're going through a lot of challenging things. I know so many people having deaths, losses, diseases, pain, setbacks. Whatever it is, the light shines brighter. And you really get that when you're with your family, with your tribe. I don't mean it in any trippy, cultish way. I mean real tribe of the heart. People are sovereign, who respect each other, respect themselves, are doing their inner work. There's nothing I love more than that. And that's why I do everything I can to bring that together. Like this one tonight. Thank you for being part of it. So this activation, the activation to connect with your spiritual family, not only in the outside, but on the inner planes. Release the illusion of separation. That's one of the cruelest demons, is the deep belief that we're separate. God abandoned us, that we're out here by ourselves. Just take a moment to feel that network, that flower of life network that goes out forever in every direction of your interconnectedness. My belief is that those bad players who are trying to greedily hold on to power and suppress minorities and all that kind of thing, they know their time is up. They're just trying to hold on for a little bit longer. This is what's coming. This is what, and so be on the forefront of this. this connection. It starts within yourself, knowing that you are connected to the source of all love, the source of all money, the source of vitality, the source of laughter. Biggest struggle and also realization of my life is to come to this breakthrough, getting it. I'd love to support you in getting it. Well, thank you, Divine, to all the lineages of light that support each one of us, all the traditions that each of us have been through to come to this point, and to all our teachers. Thank you, Odysseus, for partnering with me and for being the awesome guy you are. Thank you, Sarah and Oscar, for coming on and sharing with us. Everybody who came here, especially those of you who stayed all the way here to the sweet end. So thank you. Let's close the sacred space. That's part of spiritual courtesy. So please put your hands together at your heart. Connect with that heart energy. Just raise your hand up. Yeah, above your head. This time I know I have my camera. I actually can zoom out. Just sense that Kocha, that sacred soul star between your hands. This is something you feel. It's not something you theorize. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, just again, bring it down around you again. And now let's close the space, pull it back into yourself. Bring it down and just bathe each chakra for a moment. And then send some of it down to Pachamama, Mother Earth, to gift her. Then one more time to close the space for the group. That is for your individual. Now call the sacred space for this webinar closed. May you have many more. Good night, everybody. And if anyone has any comments, I'll stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any other chats or questions. But anyway, we're officially closing the webinar now. Good night, everybody. And Ody, I hope you can turn off the recording if you haven't.